The upper moons are the strongest demons in Kimetsu no Yaiba. And what if I tell you that these deadly beings are based on real-life diseases? But first, let's get comfy and embrace that big, red, shiny spoiler warning we all don't really like. Before you start thinking anything weird, let's start with...
日本一色と欲にまみれたド派手な場所
In the Entertainment District arc, when Tanjiro and the Demon Slayers finally defeated the demon siblings, Gyutaro remembered his sister's name. He mentioned in chapter 96 that Ume was named after the disease that killed their mother. This disease might be syphilis, a sexually transmitted infection. This is likely the reason why Gyutaro mentioned that the names Daki and Ume were terrible. Daki not only means fallen princess, but it can also refer to dispose of or abandon. While Ume is used in the word for syphilis and is written using the characters for plum and poison, it is possible that he was born with congenital syphilis. This happens when a pregnant woman with syphilis passes the infection to her baby, which can lead to bone deformities, yellowing of the eyes, skin rashes, and underdeveloped teeth. With all this evidence, it seems that Daki and Gyutaro are genuinely derived from syphilis. Now that there is a vacancy in the Upper Moon 6, Kaigaku will fill the position and take the spotlight, performing his role during the Infinity Castle arc. Kaigaku joined the Demon Slayer Corps and was actually a senpai of Zenitsu. But when the upper rank one, Kokoshibo, beat his ass, in a desperate attempt to save his own life, Kaigaku begged Kokoshibo to turn him into a demon. Zenitsu explained to Kaigaku that when their master Jigoro Kuwajima heard the tragic news, he was overwhelmed with grief and could not bear the shame, so he committed seppuku. Yet Kaigaku is an a-hole and didn't give a shit, so he and Zenitsu had a heated battle. Although Zenitsu may have only honed one skill, he defeated Kaigaku with just one strike, and that was it. He was out of the game. So what might be the inspiration behind this character design? Most fans are saying Kaigaku might be inspired by rabies because his mouth looks like a dog's. According to the theory, Kaigaku's powers may have been inspired by hyperkeratotic scabies, which is a severe type of scabies that can cause cracks in the skin. Kaigaku's blood demon art has a similar effect, which could be the reason why Zenitsu's face cracked open while fighting him. Now let's move on to the Upper Moon 5, Gyoko. Gyoko refers to himself as an artist. In the Swordsmith Village arc, we witnessed how he morbidly expresses it. Aside from his twisted love for his so-called art, Gyoko's powers are all related to themes involving water and fish. His blood demon art might be inspired by amoebic dysentery, an intestinal infection caused by a microscopic parasite. The illness is mostly caught by drinking contaminated water or eating infected seafood. This inspiration may have led to his water-bending-like skills and those creepy-looking sushis. Gyoko may have had impressive powers and skills, but in chapter 121, Tokido manages to defeat him. Also in the Swordsmith Village arc, Gyoko was assisted by Hantengu, who may seem cowardly at first, but dude, this guy surprised us with his abilities. In the manga, despite having his head chopped off multiple times by the Demon Slayers, Hantengu survives by splitting himself into more demons. Hantengu's appearance and characteristics such as the large lump on his forehead, disfigurement, and discolored skin may suggest that he was inspired by leprosy. However, not all of his forms exhibit these symptoms. After Hantengu is defeated in chapter 125, Nakumi rises through the ranks to take his place as the new Upper Moon 4. With her ability to control the fortress and transport other demons using her biwa, Nakumi is a valuable asset to the demons, especially during the battle at the Infinity Castle arc. In chapter 164, I agree with Iguro when he said that Nakumi's ability is annoying, but I disagree with him when he said that it's not that deadly. Just take a look at how Nakumi merely crushed Mitsuri and Tokito. And with that, I would like to say that the meaning of her name perfectly fits her character. This is because I've found that Nakumi's name means Naki, which can be translated to call or to cry, and Mi, which means woman. Therefore her name can be interpreted as woman who calls, which perfectly suits her role as a lady who summons and transports other demons. In theory, Nakumi might be inspired by Pink Eye, an infection that turns the white part of your eye red or pink and makes your eyes itchy, gooey, and blurry. Honestly though, even if she does have these symptoms, they don't seem to affect her abilities at all. In chapter 134, during the Hashira training arc, Nakumi used her eyes to spy on the demon slayers. And in chapter 136, she even managed to locate the hidden mansion of Kage Ubuyashiki. While the theory of Nakumi being inspired by pink eye is intriguing, there isn't much evidence to support it. So let's move on to another upper moon demon, Alcaza. First appeared in the Infinity Train movie, which featured one of the best and coolest fight scenes we have ever witnessed, but also one of the most heartbreaking one so far. I know we all hated Alcaza for what he did to Rengoku, but his backstory is actually one of the saddest in the series. During the Infinity Castle arc, when Tanjiro and Gyu successfully beheaded Alcaza, he didn't die. However, as he still desired to fight, a girl intervened, and Alcaza's memories were revealed. We learned about his motives for getting stronger, his father's tragic death, the significance of his tattoos, his mentor's teachings, and his love for a suffering girl. These memories and emotions led him to take his own life. Now he's home, reunited with his father, his master, and his loved one. Alcaza's backstory is really touching, but what's even more touching is subscribing to our channel. Let's get back to the theory. Alcaza is probably based on measles, because in Japan, measles was also called Akamogasa, which contains the same characters in Alcaza's name. Akamogasa actually means red smallpox, but back in the day, people in Japan would use the same term to describe both measles and smallpox, so it could get a bit confusing. But they started calling measles red smallpox during the Edo period, which connects in chapter 154 when Keizo mentioned that Alcaza was from Edo. Oh, by the way, did you know that Doma mentioned that Alcaza doesn't eat girls? Crazy, huh? The reason for this is presumably because of his fiancée, Koyuki. Well, speaking of the devil, let's go over Upper Moon 2, Doma. He might look charming with those fancy eyes and his phony nature, but we all know the truth. This dude is ruthless. We witnessed his strength during the Infinity Castle arc, and it opened up another wound in our hearts. He killed Shinobu. This guy absorbed her body. I might forgive Alcaza, but Doma? No way. I'm not forgiving him. Don't forget that he's responsible not only for Shinobu's death, but also for Kanai Kocho. That's why Shinobu seeks revenge. Now, she has found Doma, and as our insect Hashira battled him, we witnessed the effect of Doma's blood demon art, which could connect to our theory. Doma may be based on tuberculosis, which is a bacterial infection that affects the lungs as well as other organs like the kidneys, spine, and brain. In chapter 159, Kanao warned Inosuke not to breathe the cold air. Why? Because Doma's blood demon art is cryokinesis, which can cause severe damage to those who inhale it. This has a similar effect to tuberculosis. As Kanao and Inosuke faced Doma, he grabbed Inosuke's mask and saw his face, which reminded Doma of someone that looked exactly like Inosuke. It was revealed that it was Inosuke's mother. This mofo killed Inosuke's mother. Fate has a peculiar way of orchestrating revenge. Kanao saw her sister die and Inosuke found out who killed his mom. You know what that means, right? It's payback time, baby. As soon as Doma was leaving the battlefield, Shinobu's poison kicked in. Chapter 162 revealed a conversation between Shinobu and Kanao, where they mentioned that the final form of flower breathing, equinoctial vermilion eye, can cause blindness to the user. This could be related to the theory that the effect of flower breathing's final form is similar to the side effects of a drug used to fight tuberculosis called ethambutol. With this technique, Kanao and Inosuke successfully defeated Doma. Now here's a funny thing. When Doma and Shinobu met in the afterlife, it seems that Doma regained his feelings and even asked Shinobu if she'd want to go with him to hell, though he instantly got rejected. As we laugh at Doma's romantic dreams crush underneath Shinobu's heel, or should I say Inosuke's feet, shall we move on to the Upper Moon 1, Kokoshibo? Before we further discuss the theory about this bad boy, let me give you a slight taste of what happened in the manga. In chapter 165, Tokido mentioned that Kokoshibo is on a different level and his presence alone made him tremble for the first time in his life. We have also learned that Tokido and Kokoshibo are related. However, Kokoshibo displayed ruthless behavior towards his own kin. He not only chopped off Tokido's arm but also impaled him. He even offered Tokido the chance to become a demon. Though Genya stepped in, Kokoshibo instantly butchered him. Now Sanemi tries to save his little brother, and he actually puts up a great fight. However, this demon is too much for him to handle alone. Then Gyome enters the fray, and what happens next? Genya and the three Hashiras fought the strongest upper moon in a battle to the death. I'm really hyped to see this scene animated. Before we continue, let us know in the comments who's your favorite upper moon so far. As we were saying, when the demon slayers almost killed Kokoshibo, he suddenly transformed into a monster, and the dark mark he bore began to spread all over his body. We all know what that mark means, right? It's not just Kokoshibo who has it, but some other characters in the Kimetsu no Yaiba series might also have it. According to the theory, those dark marks on Kokoshibo resemble a symptom of the Black Death, aka the bubonic plague, which is spread by fleas that hang out on rats. If you catch it, you're likely to experience symptoms like fever, chills, and weakness. In theory, those black marks I mentioned might represent the painful black bubbles that appear all over the body. The theory also suggests that Kokoshibo's name is missing only one letter from the Japanese word Kokoshibyo, which means Black Death. Although it's just a theory, it's interesting to note that the Black Death is quite a fitting comparison for the most badass upper moon. Both Kokoshibo and the Plague are capable of slaying millions of people. In chapter 176, the Demon Slayers successfully defeated Kokoshibo. However, their victory was tragic as Genya and Tokido died in the fight. Now the remaining Demon Slayers are entering the final boss fight, the ultimate battle to defeat the Demon Lord, Muzan. If the upper moons are really based on diseases, then Muzan might just be based on the worst of them all. Cancer. He's like a cancer cell that just keeps spreading and growing, which is probably why it's so difficult to kill him. In chapter 187, we saw Muzan's ability to split himself into 1,000 pieces, just like the worst technique of cancer cells called metastasis. Let's not forget that sunlight is 100% effective against him, just like radiation therapy used to treat cancer. Before Muzan got roasted by the sun, he was weakened by the poisons created by Shinobu and Tamayo. Those poisons could represent the last cancer treatments, which turned the battle against Muzan into a very symbolic fight against cancer. And if you're dying for more Demon Slayer content, then I recommend watching this videos. Who knows, you might even discover your next favorite anime.